You know that moment when everything seems perfect, right before the floor drops out from under you? That was me, standing there, drink in hand, dressed in my best navy suit, smiling like a man who didn't know his world was seconds away from imploding. The lights were soft, the music smooth, the laughter loud. A classic corporate holiday party. And somewhere in the middle of it all, she was laughing, with him. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm 41, married for 7 years. I run logistics for a mid-sized tech firm in Denver. But none of that matters right now. What matters is what I saw, what I heard, and how I got my revenge. You have no idea, absolutely no idea, how I got her back. But trust me when I say this, it wasn't loud. It wasn't messy. It was cold, calculated, public, and final. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind to that night. The night everything started unraveling. My wife, Lindsay, had been acting different. Over the past few months, she'd been more distant. Her smile tighter. Her phone never far from reach. Late meetings, weekend conferences, new makeup, new lingerie I hadn't seen before. You know the signs. At least, you do in hindsight. At the time, I chalked it up to stress. Or maybe I just didn't want to see the truth. The company party was held at a downtown rooftop bar, classy, high-end, the kind of place with valet parking and fancy drinks no one can pronounce. Everyone from the firm was there, including Lindsay. She worked in the same building, different department, but same badge. That night, she looked stunning. Red dress, hair curled just enough to look effortless, a confident glow that made heads turn, including our CEO's. I noticed it the moment we arrived. The way his eyes locked onto her. The way she smiled back just a little too long. I felt it in my gut, that old, unmistakable twist. But I said nothing. Not yet. I watched them all night. The way she laughed a bit louder at his jokes. The way she leaned in just a bit too close when he spoke. At one point, I saw his hand on the small of her back as they walked toward the bar. And there it was again, that smirk. That boldness. She wasn't hiding it. She didn't care if I saw. Like I was just there. I clenched my jaw, forced a smile, and played the good husband. I chatted with coworkers, nodded through conversations, sipped my drink while the fire inside me burned hotter with every passing minute. Then it happened. We were doing one of those dumb party games someone always suggests after too many drinks. Truth or dare, but corporate safe. People were laughing, loosening up. And then someone asked Lindsay a question. What's the craziest thing you've ever done? She raised her glass, swayed a bit, and with a bright smile said, Well, do you guys believe I cheated on my husband? Everyone froze. A few chuckles, nervous glances. Someone cleared their throat. Then she added, still smiling. It's okay though, he forgave me. Right, honey? She looked at me. I looked back, my face frozen in what I hoped looked like amusement. Inside, I was shattered. That sentence rang in my head like a fire alarm. I cheated on my husband. Just like that. Casual. A joke, maybe. But was it? The way she looked at me, it was like she wanted to hurt me. To test how far she could push. I forced a laugh. Shrugged. Made some joke about needing another drink after that one. Everyone laughed. Someone changed the subject. But I wasn't there anymore. Not really. I floated through the rest of the night like a ghost. Nodded when spoken to. Smiled at the right moments. But my hands were trembling. My mind racing. Was she serious? Was it true? Was that her twisted way of telling me something? She acted like nothing happened. Kept laughing, kept drinking, kept leaning in to talk to our CEO. And I had just watched. Quiet. Cold. Still. But in my silence, something began to form. A plan. A seed of resolve. Because here's the thing. I don't explode. I don't scream. I don't throw things. I wait. I observe. And when the time is right, I strike. You humiliate me in front of people I work with? You turn me into a joke at the party where I stood by your side? Fine. Let's see how funny it is when the whole office finds out who you really are. You think what you did was clever? You have no idea how clever I can be. The party may have ended, but something inside me didn't. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling while Lindsay snored softly beside me. My chest felt tight, my thoughts spinning like they were trapped in a cyclone. What the hell was that? Was it a joke? Some sick attempt at humor? Or had she just let something slip? The next morning, I watched her closely. Not like a man watches his wife. Like a detective watches a suspect. She hummed while making coffee, scrolling on her phone. When she caught me looking, she smiled and asked if I was okay. I said I had a headache. She bought it. But my headache wasn't from the drinks. It was from the voice in my head that wouldn't shut up. Pay attention, Mark. For weeks after that party, I did just that. I noticed little things. The way she never let her phone out of sight, even in the shower. How she started taking longer to get ready for work. The sudden interest in new perfumes. The late-night texts she'd smile at, then turn her phone face down. She started working late more often, attending after-hour strategy sessions and leadership meetups that never showed up on her company's shared calendar. And whenever I'd ask who else would be there, her answers got vaguer. Once, I asked, "You working with Jason's team on this project?" She paused just a second too long before answering. "Oh, no. It's mostly upper management stuff. Boring. You wouldn't know them. I wouldn't know them." Funny. I'd been to the company's retreats. Their award ceremonies. I knew everyone in that building. My gut screamed something wasn't right. Still, I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Tried to believe that maybe I was overthinking it. That maybe I was just hurt from the party comment. That maybe I was being paranoid. But I couldn't ignore what happened next. It was a Thursday. She was in the shower. Her phone lit up on the counter. A text. I wasn't proud of what I did next. But I don't regret it either. I looked. It was a message preview from someone named C. It said, "Last night was dangerous, but worth it." I froze. I opened it. And just like that, a hole opened in my chest. The chat history was short, but very clear. "C. Can't stop thinking about you today. L. We need to be careful. He's not stupid. C. I'll see you tonight. L. Usual place. Same time. Don't be late." No names. No photos. But enough. I felt sick. My hands trembled. She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, laughing about some story from work. I nodded, smiled, and told her I had to leave early for a meeting. I walked out of the house with no meeting scheduled. Just 1,000 thoughts and a pressure in my chest I couldn't contain. Was C who I thought it was? Her boss? The one from the party? That smug bastard with the 2 white teeth and 2 long glances? Suddenly, her comment from that night replayed in my head again like an old tape. "Do you guys believe I cheated on my husband?" And her smile. That cruel little smile. "He forgave me. Right, honey? That wasn't a joke. That was a test. And I failed it by pretending to laugh." Now, I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I wasn't going to confront her either. No, I wasn't giving her the chance to lie to my face. I needed proof. Real proof. Because if I was going to expose her, it had to be airtight. No denials. No escape. So that night, while she was working late, I installed a discreet tracker app on our shared laptop, the one she used when hers was acting up. It synced messages, location, emails. Completely invisible. And by the next morning, I knew exactly where she'd been. Not at work. At a boutique hotel just outside the city. I checked the reservation history on her email. Same place. Booked every other Thursday for the past 3 months. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the coffee mug. 3 months. 3 months. While I made her breakfast. While I kissed her goodnight. While I sat alone on the couch watching Netflix, thinking she was out there chasing some dream in upper management. She wasn't chasing promotions. She was chasing him. And that was the moment something inside me went very, very still. The hurt, the panic, the disbelief, they didn't go away. They just solidified. Became cold. Heavy. Focused. I wasn't just a hurt husband anymore. I was a man with a plan. That morning, I sat in the car parked 2 blocks from the hotel, engine off, staring at the entrance like it might blink back. It was just past 9 a.m. She had checked out an hour earlier, according to the email I'd intercepted. I hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. I spent the whole night reviewing the data the tracker gave me. Location pings, messages, emails. I even dug into her cloud storage, something she never really locked down. Most people don't. We trust our devices too much. That was her mistake. The reservation was made under a fake name, but the email confirmation came to her personal inbox. The calendar entry was labeled Client Strategy Session. I laughed out loud when I saw that. Client strategy, huh? Let me guess. The client's name starts with C. But nothing, not even all that, prepared me for what I found next. There was a video. Short. Blurry. But enough to make my jaw lock and my hands clench so hard my knuckles turned white. She was in the hotel room, standing in front of a mirror. She was laughing, holding a wine glass. He walked into the frame. I recognized him immediately. Her boss. The one from the party. The one with the fake charm and perfect hair. He put his hands on her waist. She didn't pull away. She leaned into him. I paused the video and stared at the screen, breathing like I'd just finished a marathon. My whole body felt electric, not from shock, but from something else. Clarity. There was no doubt anymore. No room for maybes or explanations or weak justifications. I had the proof. Now it was a matter of what I'd do with it. I could have confronted her that night. I could have thrown the laptop on the table and demanded answers. But I didn't. Because the truth was, I didn't want answers anymore. I wanted control. She had been writing her story behind my back for months. Now it was my turn to write the ending. And I was going to write it with precision. So I called in sick. Told work I had a flu. Then I spent the day planning. I created a hidden folder on a private cloud account. Uploaded everything: screenshots, location history, hotel receipts, video clips, email threads. Labeled and dated. Bulletproof. Then I made a copy on a USB drive, which I locked inside a box in my office drawer. Redundancy. Then I wrote down a list. A checklist. Get more video. Record audio confirmation. Confirm identity of C. Prepare public reveal. Back up everything. The last one was underlined 3 times. Back up everything. Because when you plan to set off a bomb, you better be ready for fallout. Over the next few days, I played the part of the perfect husband. Asked her how work was, made dinner, even suggested we do a movie night. She said she was too tired. Of course she was. She was living 2 lives. And soon, one of them would be over. That Friday, she said she had to travel out of town for a conference. Said she'd be back Sunday night. I smiled and helped her pack. She hugged me at the door and whispered, "You're so good to me." She didn't even flinch when she said it. The moment the Uber pulled away, I went into action. The tracker gave me her real destination, not out of town, not even a different city. She was going to that same hotel. Again. This time, I didn't just watch. I followed. I checked into a room 2 floors above hers under a false name. While she was down there sipping wine and playing games, I was upstairs with a laptop, a microphone, and a portable camera lens attached to a propped open vent shaft that gave me a clean visual into her suite. The angle wasn't perfect, but it was enough. I didn't record everything. I only needed the moment, the right words. And I got them. Around 11 p.m., as they sat close on the couch, she said, clear as day. "He has no idea. He thinks I'm at a conference. God, if he ever found out. But he won't. He's too trusting." Then she laughed. He laughed too. That was it. I ended the recording. Saved it in 3 places. Uploaded it to my cloud folder and labeled it confession. That night, I didn't sleep either. But this time, it wasn't because I was broken. It was because I was ready. She thought I was a fool. She thought I was weak. She had no idea the kind of man she'd really married. The day after her conference trip, Lindsay returned like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, dropped her bag by the door, and said, "God, those panels were so boring." I nodded, smiled. Inside, I was counting the days. What she didn't know was that every word she typed, every message she sent, every place she visited, I could see it all now. I'd mirrored her phone and laptop data onto a secure server I controlled. Her emails, calendar entries, WhatsApp, even her notes app, it all flowed in real time. Her world, delivered to my screen. It was horrifying and addicting. Within 3 days, I knew more about my wife than I had in years. She wasn't just cheating. She was living another life. Turns out, C wasn't her only contact. There were 2 others. One, a man named Peter, someone she called the soft one. Their chats were emotional, weirdly sweet. She told him I was cold, unaffectionate, a workaholic. She sent him poems, photos. He said he dreamed of moving in with her. Then there was D, short for Daniel. Their exchange was entirely different. Brief, coded, ruthless. He was a lawyer at her company. Married, older. One message from Lindsay to him read, "My husband suspects nothing. You're safe. I've handled worse." That line hit harder than any image. Worse? What did that mean? The more I uncovered, the deeper the hole went. She had secret folders on her cloud storage. Password protected, but she used the same weak variation of our dog's name every time. Inside, I found screenshots, conversations, photos taken in offices, hotel bathrooms, even one from the passenger seat of my own car. It was all there. Timestamped. Categorized. I didn't feel angry anymore. Or even hurt. I felt clinical. Focused. Almost detached. Because now it was no longer just about infidelity. It was about exposure. She thought she could fool me, gaslight me, turn me into the forgettable side character in her secret life. I was going to flip the script. But for that, I needed something unforgettable, something no one could deny. So I began laying the groundwork. First, I compiled everything, every message, image, video, into a digital archive. Created 3 USB drives with labeled files. Each drive had an identical folder tree: messages, locations, video evidence, workplace affairs. I encrypted them. Then I set up an anonymous email account and wrote a draft email with the subject line, "For your awareness, internal misconduct." I put her company's HR department in the to field. Left it unsent. For now. Then came the real preparation, the event. Her company had an all-staff strategy session scheduled for the end of the month. A quarterly meeting held in their downtown conference center. Formal, polished. Everyone from interns to executives attended. Lindsay had been bragging about it for weeks, how she was presenting her leadership and transition segment. Big screen. Keynote speaker. All eyes on her. Perfect. I already had access to her work calendar, her presentation slides, her email. So I made a small change. I inserted a hidden slide. Black background. White letters. No sound. Just a message. What happens in secret doesn't always stay there. Followed by a 5-second countdown. And then, slide by slide, I placed messages, screenshots, audio clips, short segments of video. I timed the presentation flawlessly. It would launch when she reached slide 18. Right after her big closing line. She'd be mid-sentence, smiling, standing proud in front of the screen. And then, boom. I wasn't done yet. I made sure the presentation file auto-synced to her company's shared drive under her name. Even if she used a backup laptop, the file would load by default. Then, to ensure she wouldn't see it early, I faked a software bug email, minor visual glitch from the design team. She'd skip over it like always. The trap was set. All I had to do was wait. Every night, she came home and smiled like nothing had changed. Every morning, she kissed me like she hadn't gutted my soul. And I let her. Because the mask she wore so well? Soon it would melt off, right in front of every single person who ever called her a rising star. In the days leading up to the company strategy session, Lindsay started to act off. It was subtle at first. She wasn't as chatty in the mornings. She skipped her evening wine. Her phone, once always glued to her hand, began spending more time face down, abandoned on counters, almost like she didn't want to look at it. I noticed every detail, every twitch, every breath. It wasn't guilt. I knew her too well for that. It was fear. She could sense something shifting, though she didn't know what. Maybe a look in my eyes changed. Maybe some part of her predator instincts knew the prey was circling back. But she said nothing. Neither did I. Instead, I leaned into the performance. I kissed her forehead, cooked her favorite meals, offered to proofread her presentation. Yes, that presentation. She smiled nervously and said she was still finalizing it. I told her she'd be amazing. She didn't answer right away. That was the first crack. Later that night, I caught her staring at her computer screen with a blank expression. She didn't even hear me come into the room. I said her name, and she flinched. "Sorry," she muttered. "Just tired." Right. Tired from holding up a lie. I checked the shared drive. She hadn't removed the doctored presentation. Hadn't noticed the inserted slides. Perfect. Then I checked her messages. There were more than I expected. One from C. "You sure everything's good? You've been quiet." She replied, "Yeah, just nerves. Big day coming." Another from Peter. "You've been distant. Did something happen?" She didn't answer. I kept scrolling. Found a draft email she never sent. It was addressed to me. "Mark," it began, "I need to tell you something. But I don't know how. I've made mistakes. I've lied to you. I've betrayed you in ways you don't even know yet." It ended with, "I'm scared. Please don't hate me." I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. There it was. The confession. Not spoken, not sent, but real. And too late. This wasn't about forgiveness anymore. This was about truth. About consequences. And I was ready. 2 nights before the session, she asked me, "Do you think people can change?" I looked up from my book and said, "Only when it hurts enough." She stared at me like she was trying to read something between the lines. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. But she didn't ask anything else. The night before the big day, she stayed up late in her home office rehearsing. I listened from the hallway as she practiced her opening line over and over. I could hear the nerves in her voice. The cracks. I wanted to feel pity. But all I felt was clarity. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was a reckoning. She had played everyone around me, her friends, her coworkers, even her own sense of self. And now, in front of all those people who cheered for her, clapped for her, promoted her, they would see what she really was. When she finally came to bed, she crawled in next to me like a stranger slipping into the wrong life. Her hands didn't reach for me like they used to. Her voice barely carried above a whisper. "You'll be there tomorrow, right?" she asked. I turned toward her, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." And I meant it. The morning of the company strategy session arrived like a storm rolling in slow. Lindsay was up early, earlier than usual. I heard her in the shower at 5:45, humming nervously. She hadn't done that in years. She was wearing her power outfit, that crisp white blazer with the sharp collar and black heels she only pulled out for high-stakes meetings. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was immaculate. But her hand shook when she poured her coffee. "You'll come later, right?" she asked. I nodded. "Front row." She tried to smile. It didn't quite land. The strategy session was scheduled for noon in the top-floor auditorium at their downtown office. I took my time getting there. Drove slowly, parked on a rooftop garage across the street, and watched from above as attendees began filtering into the building. I had no anxiety. No doubt. I was calm in a way I hadn't been in months. At 11:40, I walked into the lobby, past security, badge clipped to my collar from a guest list email I had arranged using her own calendar system. No one blinked. I found my seat. Third row. Center. The stage was set. The CEO made opening remarks. Applause. Department heads gave updates. More applause. Then came the transition slide. Up next, Leadership in Transition presented by Lindsay Reynolds. Applause again. I watched her step on stage with the grace of someone used to winning. She took her place at the podium, clicked the remote, and launched her slides. The first few were smooth. Confident voice. Poised hands. Corporate buzzwords like innovation, agility, vision alignment. People nodded. Jotted down notes. Smiled. Then came slide 18. She clicked the remote, and nothing happened. She clicked again. The screen flickered. Once. Twice. Then. What happens in secret doesn't always stay there. Black screen. White letters. 5, 4, 3. I held my breath. 2, 1. And the flood began. Slide after slide. Screenshots. Message exchanges. Names. Timestamps. Location data. That blurry video frame of her and her boss in the hotel room, hands on hips, wine glasses in frame. The room went dead silent. People froze. Eyes widened. Someone gasped. I didn't blink. Lindsay stood frozen, mouth slightly open, her hand still on the clicker. It shook. She turned toward the screen, like she hadn't quite processed what she was seeing. Another slide. A message to C. He has no idea. You're safe. I've handled worse. Another. A brief audio clip, her voice, laughing, if he ever finds out. I'll just fake another breakdown. He always falls for that. Someone in the back said, "Oh my God," under their breath. The CEO stood up. So did 2 other managers. People looked around, unsure whether to look away or keep watching. It was like watching a plane crash in slow motion. Then Lindsay spoke. Barely. This isn't my file." Her voice cracked. I watched her face, every inch of it collapsing in real time. The confusion, the fear, the recognition. She turned her head and saw me. Front row. Sitting still. And she knew. I didn't smile. Didn't flinch. Just watched. She looked around, desperate. Her mouth opened again, but no words came. Someone escorted her off stage. I heard the CEO whisper something sharp. She didn't argue. The screen went black. The room remained silent for several long seconds. Then came the murmurs. Ripples of whispered shock spreading through the crowd. Phones came out. People whispered, texted, recorded. The facade she had built over months, maybe years, collapsed in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That's all it took. I stood up, straightened my collar, and walked out of the auditorium as quietly as I had entered. No one stopped me. No one needed to. I wasn't angry. I wasn't gloating. I was done. The calls started that same afternoon. The first one came just an hour after I left the conference room. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. Lindsay. Mark. Please. Lindsay, I don't know what you think you saw. Please talk to me. Lindsay, I messed up. Please. Just once. Please. I turned off my phone. By evening, she was at our front door. Banging. Crying. I watched from the hallway window as she stood there, shoulders shaking, makeup ruined, heels in her hand like she had walked barefoot through the storm her own lies had created. I didn't open the door. She stood there for 15 minutes. Then silence. When I turned my phone back on that night, there were over 30 messages. Missed calls from her. From her mother. From her boss. The last one caught my eye. A voice message. I played it on speaker. It was Lindsay, sobbing. Her voice raw. Mark. I don't know what's real anymore. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was lost. I didn't think you cared. I didn't think I mattered. I was stupid. So stupid. But please don't give up on me. Please. I stood in the dark living room, listening to the silence after her voice cut off. And then I deleted it. I didn't hate her. But I no longer felt anything that looked like love. She didn't just cheat on me. She dismantled who I was piece by piece and smiled while she did it. This wasn't about one affair. It was about disrespect. About gaslighting me into thinking I was imagining things. About lying straight to my face and laughing behind my back. And now, she wanted sympathy? I wasn't cruel. I didn't post the files online. I didn't call her parents. I didn't drag her through court. I just walked away. The next day, I packed a bag. Essentials only. Called a close friend, one who had seen the signs long before I did, and said, "It's time." He offered me a room. I took it. I left her a single note on the counter. "You showed me who you are. I believe you now." No signature. No return. The messages kept coming for days. Apologies. Promises. Explanations. And eventually rage. "Lindsay, you're destroying everything. Why are you doing this? Lindsay, I made one mistake. Lindsay, you think you're better than me?" That one made me laugh. "No, Lindsay, I don't think I'm better. I just know I'm done." I filed for divorce the following week. Quietly. No fanfare. Just a signature, a lawyer, and a decision I knew I should have made months ago. Word spread quickly through her office. HR was already involved. Her boss was suspended pending investigation. Several coworkers reached out to me in private. One wrote, "You did what no one else had the guts to do." I didn't respond. I wasn't looking for praise. I was looking for peace. And for the first time in a long, long time, I could see it on the horizon. The apartment my friend offered me was small, one bedroom, old wooden floors, no view. But when I turned the key and stepped inside, it felt like a palace. Because it was mine. No lies in the walls. No perfume in the sheets. No whispered apologies waiting to be weaponized. Just silence. Clean, heavy silence. At first, I didn't know what to do with it. I sat on the edge of the bed that night and stared at the ceiling for an hour, waiting for guilt to crawl in. It didn't. Grief showed up. Yes, but not the kind I feared. Not the, "I miss her" grief. It was more like shedding a skin. A version of me that kept pretending, forgiving, shrinking. A version of me I didn't need anymore. The next morning, I went for a run. First time in months. My legs ached. My chest burned. But it felt right. Like motion was medicine. I started journaling. Just short entries. Honest. Brutal. One read, "You were afraid of being alone. Now you're not. That matters." Another, "Forgiveness doesn't require conversation. It just needs clarity." I began talking to people again. Real conversations. Not just polite nods at work or surface-level chats at dinner parties. I reconnected with my brother. Called my dad. Told them the truth. They didn't judge. They listened. Turns out, when you stop performing for people, the right ones stick around anyway. Lindsay kept trying for a while. Emails. Voicemails. Long emotional texts. One said, "I don't know who I am without you." I didn't reply, because now I didn't know who I was without her. And I liked that man better. One evening, I sat on the balcony, watching city lights blink to life. And I realized I hadn't thought about her in hours. Not in anger. Not in sadness. Just not at all. I picked up a pen and wrote one last note in my journal. "You lived through the storm. Now grow in the sunlight." Simple. Real. Me. It happened on a Sunday. I was coming out of the bookstore, coffee in one hand, a new journal in the other. I had just finished a therapy session that morning, the good kind, the kind where you talk less about pain and more about progress. I didn't see her at first, but I felt her. That strange static in the air, like a song you haven't heard in years but still remember every word. She was standing by my car. Lindsay. Same sharp coat. Same eyes. But different somehow. Smaller. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. Or maybe just someone who was finally feeling the weight of everything she'd built and broke. "Mark," she said quietly. I didn't answer. Just approached the car and waited. "I've tried reaching you," she added. "I know," I said. Silence. Then she said it, the thing she'd been holding in since that day in the auditorium. "I'm sorry. I really am." I looked at her. Not through her. At her. For the first time without pain, without hate. And I said, "I believe you." Her eyes welled up. But I didn't flinch. She took a step closer. Can we talk? I'm not asking for anything more. I need to explain." I took a long breath. "Lindsay, we already had that talk. You just didn't know it." She looked confused. "That day on stage?" I continued. "That was the conversation. You just weren't listening before." She swallowed hard. "I was scared." "So was I said. "For years. I was lost," she whispered. "So find your way." She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at the coffee in my hand. The journal. My calm. "You look happy," she said, almost like it hurt. "I am," I replied. And I meant it. She stood there, unsure what to do next. So I made it easy. "I wish you peace, Lindsay. I really do. But I'm not your second chance." She nodded slowly, bit her lip, and turned to leave. I got in my car. Shut the door. Watched her walk away. No drama. No final scream. No, you'll regret this. Just a quiet goodbye. And as I pulled out of the lot, I realized something. That wasn't closure. That was freedom. And I had earned it. It's been a year. 12 months since the strategy session. Since the slides. Since the silence after the storm. A lot has changed. I moved to a new place, nothing fancy, just a small house near the woods, where the nights are quiet and the mornings come with birdsong. I wake up early. Run. Read. Think. I started my own business, something I had shelved for years while I was busy supporting her career. Now it's mine. It's growing. Slowly. But honestly, I go to therapy once a week, even though I don't need it, like before. I go because I want to understand myself better. To keep learning. Not out of pain, but from peace. People still ask me sometimes, "Do you ever talk to her?" I smile. No. And I don't need to. I've dated a little. Nothing serious yet. And that's okay. I'm not searching for someone to fix me. I'm not interested in proving anything. I just enjoy who I am now. And honestly, that's a man I never thought I'd become. Before, I measured my worth by how loyal I was, how much I could endure, how well I could hold someone else's world together, even if mine was cracking. Now I measure it by how honest I can be with myself first. I no longer see love as something to survive. I see it as something to share. Freely. Openly. Without fear. People say time heals everything. They're wrong. Clarity heals. Boundaries protect. Courage rebuilds. And self-respect? That saves you before anyone else can. Sometimes I pass by places we used to go, coffee shops, parks, corners of the city with echoes. But they don't sting anymore. They don't even whisper. Because I don't belong to those memories now. I belong to me. This is not a revenge story. It's a resurrection. And if someone out there's reading this, sitting in the dark, wondering if the pain will ever ease, I'll say this. It will. But only when you stop waiting to be rescued and start becoming the one who saves yourself. The end. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did I do the right thing?